The Loan Pros Group, a division of Arbor Financial Group, is a full-service mortgage broker specializing in residential and commercial lending.
They offer loan programs for purchase, refinance, renovation, and ground-up constructions, commercial in addition to home equity lines.
Their team bring decades of experience in the mortgage industry and offer countless programs to help everyone from a first-time home buyer to the most experienced investor find the perfect loan option for their scenario.
The Loan Pros are available to speak to home buyers, realtors, hey, investors, hey, and builders 7 days a week. They service clients in 35 states for primary home loans and all 50 states for investment and commercial projects.
Experience the difference with the Loan Pros Group, your one-stop shop for every mortgage under the sun.
Coffee is for closers. What's up, y'all?
Hey,
Welcome.
y'all.
Hey.
Hey, we got a special guest.
Yes.
And we are back for episode 3. Okay, yeah, me and my twin.
Three.
Yeah. So, welcome again to RealTea. I'm Serenity.
I'm Nia.
I'm Venane.
And Venane is our professional for the day. So, You might get some from me and Nia every now and then, but we think it makes sense to bring in
Mix it up a little bit.
the career, the white collar workers, you know.
Yes. I am a mortgage loan officer. I serve over 35 states on primary properties and over 50 states there's only 50 states, on investment properties. So Serenity and I are actually business partners. Well, I guess we're all business partners, truthfully. Yes.
Okay. We outside.
Yes. I'm really excited to be here and give some input.
Okay.
Yeah.
Same. And I think we have a good show today, right?
Yeah. We gonna definitely get into some good stuff, and I'm excited to hear Venane drop some gems for the
mortgage gems.
Spill Tea section. Yeah. So let's
real quick, I saw this thing because I was looking for sound effects one day for the show.
Uh-huh.
And it was this one sound, it was like, spill the tea, sis. And I was just like, I was like, I'm going to use that.
That sounds scary.
Yeah. It was hilarious, but it was terrifying. But we're going to go ahead and jump into our conversation about life. I'm sure this week life has been lifing for all of us.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's only Wednesday.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yes. In the middle of the week. It's not over yet, ladies.
This hump day needs to hump on over.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
our main thing that we've been kind of building for ourselves is friendships. And how do you kind of determine what those friendships are as in new places and in our 30s?
Yes.
So just to let y'all know, Serenity and I are Atlanta transplants. I'm originally from Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio, and she's originally from Chicago. And where are you from, Venane?
New York.
Okay,
Brooklyn, New York.
You can hear it all in the voice.
Of
The sexy New York voice.
Yes.
I lived in Texas for a while, though. So when I go back to New York, they were like, oh, my God, you sound like a cowgirl.
No, girl, you
when
New
I'm down
York
here,
to
they're
the
like,
bone.
what are you saying?
No, it's cute.
Yeah, so we basically just wanted to talk about how friendships look when you're in a new city, especially me. So I actually went to school in Chicago for 10 years. So I have this experience times 2 now. But yeah, we wanted to talk a little bit about it and like what that looks like and how we're dealing with it.
Yeah, so the first part of it is like a transplant. So when you hear people say transplant, what the hell are they talking about? Well, we're literally planted in new cities. And a lot of people actually came to Atlanta during COVID because, this was like the stomping grounds. It was like Freaknik in 2020 because everybody could come here, do what you wanted. Nothing was closed. Everybody's working. Entrepreneurship. Yes, booming. And the prices in Georgia at that time were actually still low for homes. So low interest rates and low property prices. Of course, you get this crazy situation we're in now, but neither here nor there. Yes. Transplanting is us moving somewhere that we are not from. And I kind of just jumped into it. I was tired of Chicago, tired of just the energy there. It gets depressing when it's cold.
Oh my God, seasonal depression.
Yeah.
It's really real.
I can't go back.
Yeah, even when I went one time in January, my leg numbed up and it was hurting for 2 days. I said, hell no, I can't be here.
Hell to the no.
Yeah.
Yeah. But moving here, you know, I initially jumped into what was familiar. And it ended up causing a few crashes, right? Because I'm jumping to what I know, which is people and drama. As fun as it was at times, it was still too intrusive. And these people, I labeled them as friends when they should have been more of just like homegirls or associates, to where the connection wasn't so heavy. Because I felt like I was right back in Chicago dealing with the same drama that I dealt with before. And for me, I'm still processing it. What would you say is like?
So Atlanta for me, so I actually lived here for a year because I have family here.
Okay.
So I did live here for a year after I finished undergrad in 2016, and I hated it. I was kind of like you, like I wanted to get out of Chicago. I had been there on my own for a couple years, and I just wanted something different. I have family here, so I thought it would be like a good step for me to make, but it was too slow for me. It was a little too country. I was like, I'm a city girl
Okay,
now.
right.
No, for
I
real.
need to be like right down the street from like everything that I need. I don't want to have to drive 20 minutes just to get somewhere. So I was just in a different place at 22. Fast forward about 10 years later, I randomly ended up just moving back here. Again, I do have family, so it's been a comfortable transition in that aspect because I have spent a lot of time in Atlanta. Whereas when I moved from home at 18 from Cleveland to Chicago to go to school, that was like scary as hell. Like I'm talking crying to my mama every other day. Like I want to go home. What am I doing here?
Yeah, because you're like 18. At that age, you're
Girl,
like,
it was scary. And then at the time too, Chicago was like really known for being the most dangerous city in America, like murder capital. So I was like,
damn, I think they still got that on lock.
Yeah, I'm like, that's still on the list.
they might. I don't know. I mean, this was back in like 2012,
But you know, I felt safer at that time in 2012.
girl, but it's like when you're not from there
Yeah.
and
True.
you hear
Transplant,
all of
yeah.
the negative stuff, it's like I didn't want to go outside past 8 o'clock. I used to be in my dorm room like, no, I'm not.
No,
getting
I was
shot.
outside. I was at the 18 plus clubs. I was
Well,
on the
once
blue
I started
line, the red
meeting
line.
right, the blue line, the red line. But once I started like meeting friends and like I got older, I turned 21, so I could start,
Yeah.
kicking it a little bit more. It got better, and of course, I had the time of my life. But I got to a point where I was like you, where I'm like, I'm over this. I've been here for X amount of years. I'm lost some friends, gained some friends, lost some more. I'm ready to
Yeah.
move on. And so I ended up here in Atlanta. And I think it's been really good for me so far. But I will say, like, it's hard at this big age.
Right.
And when I say big age, I mean
Yes.
30. It's hard starting
extremely-
over.
It is.
Why we
It's
gotta
really
call it
hard.
big age? Chill, bro.
Because
like,
my
let's
grandma-
call it
It's
something else.
big, not in
Can we call it
negative
revealing?
notation.
Like, can we call it a revealing age?
I just mean like like when I say big age, I mean I'm too grown for certain shit.
Yes,
yeah.
for
That's what I
sure.
mean.
Yes.
So
It just sounds, because I mean,
But not
I'm
old.
32.
I'm 28.
Okay, so you
Okay.
ain't even hit the head yet.
What do you mean hit the
Girl,
head?
the 30.
You'll hit the
The
30.
dirty 30.
We'll talk about the 30 part in a second, or
Yes.
making friends in your 30s, because that's also a different level of attention as well. But like on the transplant side of it, it really is like you have to call people what they are, and you start to understand when you come to a new place, it kind of forces you to pay attention to yourself.
It does.
Because you be by yourself for the most part.
So you start wondering what is it that I like, who I want around me. And one thing I noticed about just moving to Atlanta, it's a very superficial city. You know, everyone is an entrepreneur, everyone's doing something, chucking and jiving, everyone's, status quo is super, super high. Whether they have it or not, regardless, everyone is thinking extremely highly of themselves. So sometimes when you do make friends with people, they put on a certain image in the beginning of it all. And you think like, oh my God, I got me a good friend. I got me a homegirl or a homeboy, and their intentions are really not that great. So I'm realizing moving down here is really, you have to move with intentions when you meet somebody.
Right.
You can't trust everyone. And even if you don't trust them, you don't necessarily have to X them out, but definitely, like you said, like realizing what category they belong in your life, you know?
Right.
Because it can easily swim to the way you don't want it to swim if people, because it is a very self-absorbed place. And not only because, not necessarily saying it's a bad thing, because for Atlanta, it's a highlight of Black excellence and greatness, which is what drove all of us here initially. But it still has like this facade that everybody puts on. So you're like breaking down layers to understand what's going on with people. Who are these people? Do I need these people? And then it makes you question yourself. So it's kind of like you're reliving your college years almost.
Yeah, even high school. I remember being in high school each year, freshman, sophomore, junior. I graduated a year early. So those 3 years.
Go crazy.
Yeah.
No, don't you just say that.
Don't
Like,
gloss over that now.
Yes, I really wanted to get out of high school. That's when I was living in Texas. So I was like, let me double up on all of these classes so I could graduate, go back to New York. But each year I had a different friend group. And not to say like I had any falling out with anyone. It's just, I don't know if I grew as a person each year and felt like I needed to find a different, community, or maybe they just wasn't my cup of tea. And honestly, now that I'm older, it feels normal. So I can have I feel like I don't like the fast friendships, but I can experience somebody for an amount of time and not feel like if we fall out or anything that it's any drama or any beef. I feel like that's just life, honestly.
Yeah.
People are in your life for a reason, or a season.
Absolutely.
And Serenity, I kind of like what you're going through right now, as far as like a lot of like your friendships taking a left turn or whatever, what have you, here in Atlanta. I experienced some of those very same things in Chicago. Like people who I thought were like my ride or dies, like my people, I finally found them. All of a sudden, people stop talking to you, or they start being funny acting. And it's very hurtful, and it takes a lot out of you because people don't talk about grieving friendships. We talk about grieving like romantic relationships, but we don't really talk about grieving platonic relationships.
Yeah.
And thank you for being a friend who listens to my grieving, because I almost felt like I was overdoing it. I was
I get it. I have literally been there. Like, oh my God. And it sucks when you're in a city where your family's not around too. So you kind of lean on that community to be that for you.
Yeah.
And then when it all of a sudden isn't there anymore, it's just like, what the fuck? But I mean, at least for me, I can say what helped me kind of get through that was just realizing, like, to go off of your point as well, I am constantly growing and evolving, and everybody is not going to make it with me to the next phase of my life. And that's okay. I just have to be true to myself and, be intentional with, who I surround myself with.
And that kind of goes into the 30s conversation too.
Get older.
Because as you get older, the more successful you become too, or the more on point, I won't even use the word success, but the more on point you become with what's important for your life at that age, because 30, the window opens.
Your priorities change.
Everything changes. And it's like, you might think right now, 28, okay, cool, I got it under control. But it literally is going to, I'm just saying in the sense like you're close to 30, right? But when it hits, it's really like, holy fuck,
Like I'm 30.
I'm 30.
And for me, like, that's not a scary thing or a bad thing.
It was a realization, like,
I think
I am here.
Because I went through so much of that, like, in my mid-20s, where I was just, like, having to be alone and having to grieve so much loss around me, because I wasn't that same person anymore that attracted those people initially. By the time I got to 27, 28, I was like, this who I am. Like, I don't care. You know what I mean? So now it's like I can move by myself.
That journey was a little different for me, and I think it translates over into the work life, which I'm going to jump into in a second. But in my 20s, I felt famous in a sense, right? Like Chicago famous or whatever you want to call it, because everybody loved Serenity. Everybody was, Serenity, can you put me on your show? Serenity, Serenity, Serenity. Can you put me on the radio? Can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? And I took them using me as them loving me. And that's how I treated my friendships. I treated my friendships as people loving me because
of what
Serenity,
you can do for
I
them.
need you. You know,
Right.
can I do this, or can you help me go do this? Can you sit in the hospital with me for 12 hours because I need to go? And I'm like, sure, whatever you need, whatever you need, whatever you need. So even though it was more substance based, it was still people using me because they know my heart and my character.
Right.
Which is how I ended up in the shit show with my contractors. And I know this has been the conversation the world been waiting on, because
But we gonna get into it.
I initially put an Instagram video up.
Wait. Before we start,
Okay.
for those of y'all out there who don't know, what is a contractor in this scenario?
Yeah, so a contractor is a general contractor is someone who renovates or is the leader of a renovation project for your home. So you typically, a contractor has some sort of background in carpentry, electric, HVAC, plumbing. They don't necessarily have to have any of those as their background and just say, I want to be a GC and pay people, which we would call them subcontractors. You pay them to do the work.
Okay.
But a GC, if you wanted to go today and say, I want to dive into this, I want to be a general contractor, you can go and pay whatever that price is. In some states, they require you to have worked for a company for so much time or worked under somebody. Like Georgia, I think you have to have done at least 3 projects or a few years or something of that capacity to be a GC. But in Chicago, motherfuckers don't have to do or be nothing but a ding dong. Shit.
Have a pulse.
A Twinkie. You know what I'm saying? So a while ago, I did initially put a video on my Instagram live. I went live on Instagram and I was just like, my contractor stole $70,000 from me. And everybody starts watching it because it has this crazy little tag. And I was diving into the conversation, but I just didn't, it felt more anger driven. And I had to delete it because I wasn't registering the thoughts correctly. I was just saying everything that went left and I was jumping left, right, whatever. But picking your business partners mattered for me because I bought 3 properties with my clients / team. I started flipping with them 3 years ago and we have been killing it. Did like 7 rentals. And now we were like, let's do some flips. Let's flip some houses for sale. I went from just being their realtor to becoming a project manager for the renovations to now becoming some sort of equitable partner for them. And we do all of this work together. We know numbers together, everything. So our contractor became a part of that union because he didn't do our first one or our second one, but he came in and fixed our 3rd and 4th and our first one when there were errors. So we were like, wow, like we got somebody here who's really looking out and doing a big one.
So can I ask a question about that? Because you just mentioned in Chicago specifically, you can kind of like, anybody can be a contractor, right? Like that's not like a big thing. What was it about this specific person that made y'all feel like they were trustworthy?
For one, it was the knowledge base that it seemed that he had because we were still new, right? We had done a couple of flips. We're not super knowledgeable about everything that goes into a property, but he came in very confident. And he also came in with great, not super cheap prices, but great numbers like, oh yeah, this will cost you this because they messed up with this and this isn't up to code. You know, saying all the things that we're like, wow, you're really letting us know where someone went left for us. And we asked him to do little things first, like, oh, well, can you go and fix our first renovation because people messed up on it a little bit. When it fixed it, made it a little bit better, we're cool. We're actually thinking about getting another one. Can you do one building while we have our other contractors do the other one? Sounded good. So then the other contractor ended up being an old guy. I really care about him still to this day, but he just needs to let it go. And we had to get rid of him, basically. So when we got rid of him, we bring in the other guy. Like, hey, we need you to do the other house too.
So he like built up a level of
He
trust.
built a rapport with us. And it didn't seem too bad because the houses didn't necessarily need full renovations, but they still cost. Like the hard money the loans was crazy. First of all, like they were good prices, but the renovation side, he's like, okay, this 2 unit is gonna cost $100K to flip. All right, cool. We get that with the loan. We get it done. We refinance it, get it rented out. On to the next, on to the next. So speed it up to this past summer. My clients and I, we were like, we're ready to flip. We involved their parents who are superstar like flippers, making hella bread on the West Coast, doing a big one. We going crazy in the beginning. Serenity, we love this. Your reports are amazing. Emmanuel's great. He's on FaceTime with us, showing us things, growing it. But the more involved I got with handling the money, because with a flip, you pick your finishes, you pick everything you want it to be. With rentals, you just send a picture, say, hey, we want this to kind of be the template. Do what you got to do. But with flips, you put in certain quartz counters, granite, or what's the cheap stuff?
You're like
Formica.
picking stuff specifically.
Yes, because that goes into cost.
Right.
He didn't like that. And he didn't present it as he didn't like it. He presented it more of why you got people watching me. And I'm like, well, that doesn't look right. Or
Did he want to do all the finishes or?
no, it wasn't about him wanting to do the finishes. It was about the separation of labor and material.
Okay.
So he puts an all-in price. He pays me a referral fee. He tries to say that I stole it from my clients. Like, yeah, she's taking money off the top, blah, blah, blah. Basically, all because I was more involved in these transactions to see, hey, Emmanuel, yep, whoops. Hey, Emmanuel,
Okay,
these aren't working correctly.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to bring somebody in to check it out, right?
So he was trying to like cover his ass, basically.
He was, and he ended up lying about a few projects. He spray painted a roof that we paid him $10,000 for. No, girl, it's funny. He lied about asbestos in one of my properties. We paid him for removal. He had people not there for 2 weeks. Falsified a document from a company that does not even service Illinois. Falsified the name and signatures. He was going to cover it with drywall. And another property, he lied and said that the village came and passed the rough inspections. Lo and behold, they never passed the rough inspections. And we had to rip the walls back down. He never did the electric or plumbing behind those walls. He was finessing photos and videos, showing one piece that he did correctly. And we're trusting him. We're just like, okay, cool. Like, this looks good. Let's get it prepared for our inspection because that's how you get your draws from your lender.
So this man is a con artist.
Pretty much.
And when you pick your teams, like if I could really just sum it up, because I know this is a long conversation and it could go so much deeper, but me and my clients were our total out of about 80,000 extra when we already were spending about 90 to 100 on each project already. So 3 houses, I'm having to spend so much of my commissions, every commission check I'm getting going back, but the basis of it is when you are picking a team to work with whatever career path, vet them motherfuckers. Make sure they have their license, insurance, errors, and omissions.
Like, do not be afraid to ask questions. And if they get offended that you're asking questions,
and
that's a red flag right there.
And they don't have it, you know?
Yeah.
And it was a very, very wide awakening. I was very depressed. This whole 6 months, honestly, has been the most difficult of my journey. I built myself up to a 6-figure earner and damn near half of it gone because I'm having to repair and fix things, flying back and forth, you know, and it destroyed me and it made me feel small again, like it did with friendships. Like, what did I do wrong again? Like, how did I mess up again with somebody I trusted? You know, this is somebody that I was looking to really build this empire with, and he played real hard in my face. But now the new contractors, they're vetted. They send me paperwork. They send me conversations.
What
and
did you do differently with the new contractors?
Got everything up. I mean, I had everything up front too, but I heard 2 to 3 references each time before they did the work. They would have people go, 3 plumbers, 3 electricians, 3 roofers. He would let me bring my own roofers in for quotes just to make sure his numbers weren't off. Like, we have really built a union.
Yeah.
That now I'm like, okay, I could hire you for more projects. Go get your Indiana license now because now I'm going to take you to the next state with me.
So I think something that is noteworthy from this experience is to give yourself grace.
Yeah, absolutely.
With friendships and in work relationships, because you just mentioned that you're feeling like this is somehow your fault.
Yeah, like what did I do?
Right. Which I don't think that you should put the blame on yourself in this situation, because you technically did not like do anything scandalous.
No.
I mean, it's definitely a learning lesson in that you can learn how to create better boundaries for yourself. And it's like you said, now you're in a position where you're working with people who you know how to actually vet.
Yeah.
Had you not gone through this,
You wouldn't have
maybe
known
you
what to ask.
maybe you wouldn't know how to
And
do that.
You're not an expertise in that area, so it is his job to tell you all these things. So he could have said, hey, you know, this termite here and stuff, and it's just like, okay, yeah, let's go ahead, let's get it done, because you're not knowing. So
Exactly.
honestly, that's normal. And don't think, for the people out there, on your first, it doesn't matter, you can listen to as many podcasts, honestly, watch as many YouTube videos, talk to as many lenders, talk to me, I'm the best. But you honestly are still going to make mistakes.
And I definitely know that was the thing. A lot of people, older people, investors, everything, were just like, Serenity, it sounds like you're blaming yourself
Yeah,
for something you shouldn't be blaming yourself for.
absolutely.
They say, are your partners mad at you? No, but they're overwhelmed and stressed. Okay, so are you.
It's normal.
Y'all are a team and y'all are going through something together. It was going to happen eventually. Better it happens with 3 properties versus you doing 10
Right.
in 3 or 4 different states. Then what?
And
And
you're
it's-
handling it too.
Yeah, you really are. And it's so
thank
easy
you.
to like be so hard on ourselves when we make mistakes. And I know it's easy for me to say this because I'm not in your situation.
Right.
But I think it's just really important to remember to give yourself grace in any of your relationships, because there's nothing wrong with trusting people. Obviously, like I said, you definitely need to have boundaries, but there's nothing wrong with trusting people.
And just learning the boundaries as you go. Because,
Yeah, exactly.
you know, it's still a new journey. I'm only 3 years, almost 4 into real estate. 3 years of it flipping with, you know, clients and learning about hard money loans and all of this fancy jargon to flip the house and make more money. So the win of it all is there's always room for growth. And every day I'm learning how to be a better realtor.
Yeah.
And it's making my partners see me as a way more valuable asset, because instead of just being boots on the ground, I'm putting my dollars into it as well. Like, F it. It was everybody's fault. Let's fix it.
Let's just fix
It's
it.
more
Yeah.
than boots on the ground, though. My girl was really, you would have thought
Oh,
she was the contractor.
yes.
It's
No,
more
I was
than
putting
boots on the
floors
ground.
down. Yes, I was
Okay.
busting
Loves that video. See,
Yes, me too.
Serenity is on Instagram, literally putting floors down by herself, cutting things. What is it called with the
of
little
the saw.
with the little
Yeah.
saw?
Yeah.
Child, that was amazing.
And then
It
y'all
is.
know, like, and we can jump into like some more of this another time, but I even ended up taking that video off my Instagram page
Why?
because I felt like the old friend energy hit me again, of people thinking I'm weak or emotional, and she always crying, and it's like, that's not even what I'm trying to do. What I'm trying to do is show y'all how real life gets when you jump into new lanes. So I was like, let me just take it off my page, because the first video is me crying about how happy I am that I did it, but how stressed, and I was on my cycle.
No.
First of all,
Nothing counts when you're on your cycle.
it came the day I said, I'm going to come over here and lay these floors with them.
Yeah.
Contractors the new ones didn't think I was going to really do it. But I came in my sweats and I said, do y'all got some napkins? And I had to borrow napkins from them to go to the store and, you know, get myself taken care of. And they were like, you don't have to do it. I say, no, fuck that. I'm going to take the pain pills and I'm putting this floor down. I don't care how long it take me.
And honestly, when you're vetting people, that's why I feel like you should have posted that, because when people see things like that, they can relate to you. It doesn't matter what the transaction is. If you're a first-time home buyer and the house is $10,000, it's a process and it weighs on you emotionally, physically. You can't sleep, you can't spend. So when you vet people and you see real things like that, I think it's very dope, and it makes people think like, oh, she knows exactly what she's doing.
And I'm sorry. That is so shitty that we live in a world, and I'm guilty of this too, but it's so shitty that we live in a world where like it's only appropriate to post things on Instagram that are like only showing your highlight reels. Like,
Yes.
I'm sorry, people go through real shit, and sometimes that involves like crying and like being emotional and going through stuff. You should not feel bad about if you're comfortable with sharing that part of your life. You shouldn't feel bad about that.
Right.
It's everybody else that's
And
out
you
here
know
on
who's telling
Instagram
me?
faking.
And you know who's telling me to take it down too? And anytime I post, I'm ready to quit real estate or anything I say that's like showing what I'm going through. They men calling me, take that down. Take that down. And it's like, I'm not bashing my men and even I tell them, I understand where you're coming from, but this is my story. This is how I
What
relate.
you comfortable with
And if a
sharing?
client don't want to work with me because I show emotion, they were not for me. And then they end up saying, I respect that. But at least 3 or 4 men like, take that down. You don't want to post that. I said,
I hate that we live in a world where everything has to, on the outside, seem so perfect.
You cannot be vulnerable on the internet.
Not real.
Like, it's not real at all.
But
honestly.
let's switch the trajectory because I could bop, like, boy, I want to go smack the. You know the video of the big head little boy and they go to bed and he I bop the F out of somebody right now, boy. But let's get on some tea. Let's spill some financial tea. And let's start it off with this whole hard money situation. Like, can you explain more?
I keep hearing this term.
Yeah.
I want to know. So yes.
Hard money pretty much is short-term financing. And I want to emphasize on short-term because a lot of people always inquire, oh, I hear, because hard money is kind of like the Wild Wild West, truthfully. Very large down payments. You're looking at 30%, maybe 20 if you're kind of like a vet in the game and you're comfortable with the investor. And I say that because it's the Wild Wild West. It's truthfully, just think of a big man full of pockets of money and he sets his own guidelines. You know, like I need the credit score to be 700 or I need this, I need that. He sets pretty much their own guidelines and you just got to abide by them. So I say short term because these people, they want their money back. So hard money, truthfully, is extremely investor friendly because they overlook a lot of things. They overlook income, they overlook debt to income ratio, they even overlook certain trade lines on your credit report. As long as you hit their points that they're needing, and there's a plethora of investors with different type of guidelines, then you're pretty much good to go. They set their rate, they set their pricing on how much they're going to charge you, and if the property or the file or you as a borrower, if you're a little hairy or you come with a lot of complications, then they may charge you higher than they will the next person.
Okay.
With better
question. That in comparison to the alternative type of loan, I don't know,
a traditional
You mean like
loan.
as if you want to buy a house for yourself versus investment?
A traditional loan versus a hard money loan.
Yes.
Because it's short term, does that mean that typically the interest rates for that are higher?
Yes.
Okay.
And they are.
Yes.
And we're in crisis mode.
Yes.
To speak like the Wild Wild West, like she said, the
Yes.
crisis is real because we're asking for extensions on the loans at this point because we're not done yet. Like, this was supposed to be done within 6. It's now taking 10, and they're like, well, your terms for interest-only payments was for 6 months.
And that's now, what I wanted to, because typically hard money are interest-only payments, meaning it's not principal, interest, taxes, and insurance like it would be on a traditional loan. Okay. And I guess it's 3 different tiers when you talk about financing. You have your traditional loans, like your conventional FHA, and these are typically good for first-time home buyers, people who want to buy vacation homes, second homes, or you can even go traditional when it comes to investment properties as well. Those typically require more documents, tax returns, pay stubs, W-2s or 1099s, things like that. Then your second tier, you have non-traditional or non-agency loans. And with these are like your bank statement loans, maybe 1 year of tax returns, very investor friendly, but a lot of self-employed people use them to buy homes. Yes, with the non-traditional. And then your bottom tier, and this is truthfully last resort, is your hard money loan. And because it's so, I can shop a scenario around to a bunch of investors and get a whole bunch of different terms on each and every single one of them. But like you said, they're short term. So if you want to renovate, do a ground up construction, and you don't want to have to provide a lot of documents, this is definitely the way to go.
Right.
They close very quickly. I mean, I even have
2
some
weeks?
yes, I have some hard money investors that will close within 24 hours.
Okay, where they
Depending on
at?
the
Send me those
properties
clients.
and the borrower,
Hold
of
on,
course.
real quick. You got one of them on speed dial? They looking for some land, some
Yes,
properties,
it depends on the borrower
some new
and the
builds.
property, but
I'll take care of them. Send
it's
them.
an option.
So for like a hard money loan,
Mm-hmm.
that's not something you recommend. Like if you have good credit.
Oh no! If you have good credit, I definitely would recommend that.
If you're flipping though,
If you're
like
flipping,
not to just buy your
Not
house.
to buy a home.
Yeah.
hard money
Okay.
is only for investment property, so you can't do any hard money on a primary home. It's strictly for investment only,
Okay.
and that's because they want you to either sell this house if it's a fix and
And
flip,
give them the money
give them
right
back
back.
their
Now, have
money.
you
Okay.
have you had situations too? Because I always wonder this. Because you know you do have people who do like the middle ground, like non-QM, right?
Yes.
That's not qualified
That's the
mortgage
non-traditional,
or non-traditional.
non-agency.
Okay.
Yes.
But then you have people who just got money to blow, right? Do you ever have situations where they just say, just do the hard money, I'll pay whatever it is for?
It depends on the situation, truthfully. If I know the borrower, we call it hairy files. If I know the borrower has a lot of complications, don't really have tax returns, bank statements are kind of muddy, can't prove these large deposits, and it's a very sticky situation, then that's when I would recommend hard money because that's probably the only option left. But if they do have things, I always say credit, income, assets. And those are the three major keys that can get you into a loan. And if you're falling short in all three areas, then, well, not the credit, hopefully, because with hard money, they want to, because they're overlooking a lot of things, they do want to see some type of
Security.
so your credit score should be that. But honestly, I only recommend hard money if they have an out plan.
And
A get
typically
out
an out plan for hard money is lending or flipping or doing a
refinance
BRRRR.
or
And the
selling.
BRRRR is the buy, rehab, rent, refinance situation. And that's how people build these portfolios. Within 2-3 years, they're now worth $3 million because they've done 7 or 8 refinances, which is they get the hard money loan first to do the renovation. And it's like a rule to it. Like for a hard money lender, they want to make sure that after repair value makes sense.
Yes.
So the strongest, for new investors, it's smarter to work at like a 70% after repair value, because that means that if the neighborhood is worth $300,000, like a house 3-2 done up finished was worth $300,000. If it's another house in that neighborhood, you don't want to spend more than $210,000 all in for the house, the renovation, whatever payments you have to make while you're doing the flip, so that you have 30% equity. And you pull from that equity to refinance to get your next one. You want to have at least, and that's for new investors, because you only want to pull from that 30%. You don't necessarily want to pull from 60 or 50%, because then it's like, what's the point, right? You want to have at least 30% equity. A cushion. Weathered investors, they might be cool with 85% loan to value.
Yeah.
Meaning if it's $300,000,
they'll finance
up to like how much is
80%.
it?
I know some investors, just
240,
depending on your
250, yeah.
experience, they'll even finance 100% of the renovation budget. It truthfully, when you step out of traditional loans, it really comes down to the borrower and the property. It becomes really situational now.
Yeah, but it is a great way to grow.
It is.
And of course, credit is like, just to like really wrap up our conversation, like credit worthiness is so important. And that goes back into the discipline and stuff we talked about in the very beginning. If you're not disciplined with even the smallest things, like maybe making a $90 a month investment, call me about it. I'll tell you about it later. You do a $90 a month investment to repair your credit, to have lawyers on deck, to have budgeting, financing. Like you got this whole package, right?
Right.
But you don't see the value in it. If you don't see the value in it, then you have to reconsider your purpose of growth. Like you're not going to grow in this country without making proper investments.
Yes.
And credit is king here.
Credit is access. access to better loans, access to wealth.
It's
Period.
literally
Yeah.
you on paper.
Yeah.
Like your financial you on paper. So if they see a whole bunch of like derogatories, collection, charge-offs,
Ain't nobody gonna want to give
mispayments,
you no money.
no, who's who?
Right.
You're not paying
and it's
these
okay
people.
if you have it, because it can
Yes.
be corrected. We did not learn these proper ways to grow, but make sure
important.
you take the steps
Yes.
to do it, and make sure y'all vet y'all people.
And vet yourself.
Vet yourself.
Yeah.
And I don't even it's just still like a shock that
Yeah.
God is good. I'm gonna end it like God is good. This real tea is that God is good, because with my clients and myself, with the struggles of people and understanding them and vetting them, I've still been able to take care of myself
Yeah.
and spend thousands of dollars a month on somebody's properties and still be able. So that's a testament to, yes, I am doing this renovation stuff correct. And I'm going to be calling you and Bobby very soon to do my first flip in Indiana, within the next 3 months or so,
Speaking it
right?
into
So
existence. Yeah.
keep yourselves on top of it. Keep yourselves excited.
Don't
How
get
can-
discouraged.
And how can people get in touch with the superstar in the room? Because you really dropped the gems today.
You guys can give me a call at 678-793-1251. But you guys can also follow me on Instagram. I am Venane the Lender. That is VENANE the Lender.
And of course, you can subscribe to our amazing page. We would love more subscribers. We would love more views.
And likes.
And likes and
Yes.
loves and comments.
Yes.
And constructive criticism.
Yeah.
Yes.
We always want to know how we can be better for you all too. So make sure you follow us at Some RealTea, and from Some RealTea's page, you'll be able to find our personal pages because we want to grow our little baby.
Yes. Well, that was a great conversation.
Yes.
Thank you, Venane, for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I love this. I love being here.
Always.
Awesome.
Thanks for being a guest.